Commander Jiwoo Park stood in the observation deck of Earth Command, staring at the holographic display that showed the outer colonies. 20 years of service had taught her patience. But today that patience was being tested. The Talon hegemony had been pushing against human space for 3 years now, testing boundaries like a bully in a schoolyard. The Talons were bird-like creatures, standing nearly 2 meters tall, with sharp beaks and sharper attitudes. Their supreme commander, Kravik, had built his reputation on conquest. 12 species had bent the knee to the Talon hegemony in the past century. Now he had his eyes on humanity's colonies. Jiwoo had seen the reports: small skirmishes, border violations, harassment of human trade ships. Each time, Earth's regular defense forces responded with measured force. Each time, the diplomats kept talking. And each time, the Talons pushed a little harder. "Commander, another message from the Giants facility," her aide said. "Captain Choi is requesting deployment authorization again." Jiwoo sighed. Min-jun Choi was persistent. She would give him that. The Giants had been ready for 5 years now, trained to perfection, waiting for a war that Earth's politicians hoped would never come. The Giants were humanity's secret weapon, though the secret was poorly kept. Every species in the Galactic Council knew Earth had created enhanced soldiers. They just did not know what the Giants could really do. The Giants were not normal humans. Each one stood 2.5 meters tall, their bodies enhanced with genetic modifications and cybernetic implants. Their bones were reinforced with carbon fiber weaving. Their muscles generated 3 times the force of normal humans. Their reflexes were fast enough to dodge aimed gunfire. Their minds processed tactical information like quantum computers. Humanity had spent 30 years and trillions of credits building just 500 of them, and they had never seen combat. "Tell Captain Choi the same thing I told him yesterday," Jiwoo said. "Stand ready. Wait for orders." The aide nodded and left. Jiwoo knew Min-jun would not like that answer. None of the Giants liked waiting. They had been created for war, trained for war, and then forced to watch from the sidelines as regular human soldiers faced the Talon threat. But Earth's government had a strategy: show restraint, prove humanity wanted peace, keep the Giants in reserve as a deterrent. Kravik saw it differently. In the Talon command ship, hovering at the edge of human space, the Supreme Commander spread his wing arms in satisfaction. His tactical officers stood at attention around the holographic battle display. "The humans retreat again," Kravik said, his translator turning his harsh squawks into standard galactic speech. 3 years of testing, and they always back down. They talk of their giants, these enhanced warriors, but we never see them. I believe the Giants are a myth. Human propaganda to mask their weakness. "Supreme Commander," one of his officers said carefully, "our intelligence suggests the Giants' program is real. Perhaps the humans are simply reluctant to escalate." Kravik snapped his beak in dismissal. "Reluctance is weakness. A strong species does not hesitate to show strength. The humans hide behind words and diplomacy because they know they cannot match our military might." He turned to his tactical board. "I grow tired of this slow advance. It is time to break the human spirit completely. Show them that words mean nothing against true power. What are your orders, Supreme Commander?" "Identify 3 of their colony worlds, small ones, far from Earth, places they think are safe." Kravik's eyes gleamed. "And burn them from orbit." The officer hesitated. "Supreme Commander, striking civilian targets will violate 17 Galactic Council treaties. The Council will impose sanctions, possibly even military intervention." "The Council is weak," Kravik said. "They will condemn and debate and do nothing, as always, and the humans will learn that we are not afraid of their invisible giants or their diplomatic protests. Attack at dawn cycle. Use plasma bombardment. Leave nothing alive." 2 days later, Jiwoo was in an emergency council meeting when the alerts came through. At first, she thought it was a system error. The readings were too catastrophic to be real. But then the visual feeds came in from the colonies. New Busan was burning. The Talon fleet had appeared without warning and opened fire from orbit. Plasma weapons superheated the atmosphere, creating firestorms that consumed everything. 18,000 people lived on New Busan. Most of them were farmers and their families. Terra Verde was next. A small mining colony where 12,000 people extracted rare minerals from ancient asteroid impacts. The Talon ships hammered the settlements until the ground itself turned to glass. Hope's Landing was the worst. 17,000 colonists, including 3,000 children. The colony had been named for the hope of a peaceful future among the stars. That hope died in flames as Talon warships methodically destroyed every structure, every shelter, every chance of survival. 47,000 dead in 6 hours. Ji-woo watched the recordings in silence. Around the council table, Earth's leaders sat frozen in shock. Even the most hawkish among them had not expected this level of brutality. These were not military targets. These were farmers, miners, teachers, children. They need to see consequences, the Secretary General finally said, her voice shaking with rage. Commander Park, what is the status of the Giants program? Fully operational, Ji-woo said quietly. Captain Choi's force can deploy within 12 hours. We have 4 additional teams ready within 24. Do it, the Secretary General said. No more restraint. No more waiting. The Talons wanted to see humanity's strength. Show them exactly what we have been holding back. The vote was unanimous. For the first time in 30 years, the Giants were authorized for combat deployment. Ji-woo walked to the Giants facility with the authorization codes in her hand. She found Min-jun Choi in the training hall, running combat simulations with his team. At 2.5 meters tall, Min-jun made normal humans look like children. His team moved through the simulation with perfect coordination, their enhanced bodies flowing through movements too fast for normal eyes to track. Captain Choi, Ji-woo said, you have your deployment. Min-jun stopped mid-motion, turning to face her. His dark eyes showed no satisfaction, only grim determination. All 3 destroyed. 47,000 civilians dead. Then we have work to do, Min-jun said. He turned to his team. Sara, Taehyun, gear up. Full combat load. We deploy in 8 hours. As the Giants moved to prepare, Ji-woo felt a weight settle over her. For 30 years, humanity had tried to avoid this moment. They had built the Giants, hoping never to use them. They had shown restraint, sought peace, exhausted every diplomatic option. The Talons had mistaken that restraint for weakness. They were about to learn the truth. Humanity's patience had not been fear. It had been mercy. And that mercy had just run out. The assault ship cut through space like a knife through water. It was painted flat black, designed to absorb sensor readings rather than reflect them. Inside the ship, Captain Min-jun Choi checked his equipment one final time. His armor was lighter than standard military gear but 10 times stronger, built to enhance his already enhanced body. Lieutenant Sarah Kim sat across from him, reviewing tactical displays. She was the team's intelligence specialist, her enhanced mind capable of processing thousands of data points simultaneously. Next to her, Sergeant Tae-hyun Lee loaded heavy weapons that would normally require a vehicle mount. For a giant, they were just another tool. Target is a Talon forward base built into asteroid MX-447, Sarah said, her voice calm despite what they were about to do. Estimated garrison of 300 Talon soldiers. They use it as a staging point for raids into human space. Civilian presence? Min-yeon asked. There is a neutral trading station 800 kilometers away. No civilians in the base itself. Good. Min-jun said. We go in fast and clean. Disable their communications first. I want them isolated before they know we are there. We have a long to-do, said. The pilot's voice came over the intercom. 3 minutes to drop point. The Talons have no idea we are coming. Min-jun stood up, his team rising with him. In the 30 years since the Giants program began, This moment had been theoretical. They had trained for it, planned for it, dreamed of it, but it had never been real. Now 47,000 dead civilians made it very real. "Remember your training," Minjun said. "We are not here for revenge. We are here to send a message. Humanity tried peace. They chose war. Now they learn what we have been holding back." The ship shuddered as it matched velocity with the asteroid. The rear hatch opened to vacuum. Normal soldiers would need careful decompression and specialized suits. The giants simply activated their helmets and jumped. Minjun fell through space toward the asteroid, his armor's thrusters making tiny adjustments to his trajectory. Below him, the Talon base was built into a crater, its structures protected by the asteroid's bulk. Sensor arrays dotted the surface, but they were designed to watch for ships, not individual soldiers falling from above. He hit the surface at 40 meters per second. His enhanced legs absorbed the impact that would have shattered normal human bones. Around him, his team landed in perfect formation. They moved. Sarah reached the first sensor array and placed a disruptor charge. It activated silently, sending false data to the Talon systems while blocking real signals. Within 90 seconds, every sensor array was compromised. The Talon base was now deaf and blind. Taehyun positioned himself at the main entrance, his heavy weapons aimed at the reinforced door. "Ready." "Taehyun, breach," Minjun ordered. The explosion was shaped and controlled, blowing the door inward without collapsing the surrounding structure. Taehyun went through first, his weapons already firing. Talon soldiers scrambled for their weapons, but they moved in normal time. The giants moved in their own time, faster than the Talons could track. Minjun entered behind Taehyun, his weapon picking targets with computer precision. A Talon officer raised a communicator, and Minjun shot it from his hand without injuring him. No communications. No calls for help. The base would fall in silence. The Talon soldiers fought bravely. They were trained warriors who had conquered a dozen species. But they had never faced anything like the giants. Minjun moved through their fire, his enhanced reflexes dodging shots that should have been impossible to avoid. Sarah flanked through side corridors, her precise fire disabling rather than killing when possible. Taehyun held the choke points, his heavy weapons turning Talon defensive positions into scrap metal. The base commander tried to organize a defense in the central command center. He was shouting orders when Minjun kicked open the reinforced door. The commander stared up at the giant, his bird-like eyes wide with shock. "You are the giants," the commander said in broken galactic standard. "But you are a myth. Human propaganda. Does this feel like propaganda?" Minjun asked. He moved forward, and the commander's guards opened fire. The shots hit Minjun's armor and ricocheted harmlessly. Minjun disarmed each guard in 3 seconds, their weapons clattering to the floor. "Your Supreme Commander Kravik killed 47,000 human civilians," Minjun said. "He thought humanity was weak. He thought our restraint meant we could not fight. He was wrong. We were following orders," the commander protested. "And now, you will deliver a message," Minjun said. He pulled a data chip from his armor and pressed it into the commander's hand. "When we leave, your communications will work again. Send this to Kravik. Tell him the giants are real. Tell him we are coming." 47 minutes after they entered the base, Minjun and his team were back on their ship. Behind them, the Talon base was in ruins. Weapons destroyed, communications disabled, supplies scattered. The Talon soldiers were alive but defeated, huddled in their barracks wondering what had hit them. In orbit above Earth, Commander Ji-Woo Park watched the mission reports flow in. Not just from Minjun's team. All across Talon space, giant teams were striking simultaneously. 5 forward bases disabled. 3 supply depots destroyed. 2 command ships crippled. And the Talons had not even known the attacks were coming until they were over. The Galactic Council met in emergency session. Representatives from 24 species filled the chamber, their holographic forms flickering with agitation. The Talon ambassador stood accused, while Earth's ambassador presented evidence of the colony attacks. The Talons violated 17 treaties. Earth's ambassador said. They deliberately targeted civilians. 47,000 innocents murdered in a single day. And humanity responds with their giants, the Talon ambassador said. Weapons that violate the Council's own laws against enhanced soldiers. The giants were developed 25 years before those laws existed. Earth's ambassador replied. We reported the program to the Council from the beginning. We kept them in reserve, hoping never to use them. We tried peace. Your Supreme Commander chose war. A representative from the Vrin Collective, an insectoid species known for their logic, spoke up. We believed the Giants program was exaggeration. Human propaganda to deter aggression. The combat reports suggest we were mistaken. Badly mistaken, another representative added. One human team disabled a base defended by 300 soldiers in less than 1 hour, with minimal casualties on either side. The Talon ambassador's feathers ruffled in agitation. This proves nothing. A few raids against minor bases. The hegemony's main fleet is still intact. Our military might is vast. Then perhaps you should ask Supreme Commander Kravik if he wants to test it against the giants, Earth's ambassador said quietly. We have 500 of them. So far, you have only met 20. We tried to warn you. We showed restraint for years. You mistook mercy for weakness. In his flagship, Kravik watched the recordings of the giant attacks. His tactical officers stood silent, not daring to speak. The footage showed creatures that moved too fast, hit too hard, fought with impossible coordination. One of them had taken a direct hit from a plasma rifle and kept fighting. Myths do not destroy military bases, Kravik finally said. Send orders to all fleet commanders. The giants are real. Adjust tactics accordingly. What tactics, Supreme Commander? An officer asked. We have never faced enhanced soldiers at this level. Kravik spread his wing arms. Then we learn. We adapt. We are the Talon hegemony. 12 species have fallen before us. Humanity will be the 13th. But as he said it, Kravik felt something unfamiliar. For the first time in his long military career, he felt doubt. Commander Ji-Woo Park stood before the Galactic Council's Security Committee, answering questions about humanity's military doctrine. The representatives wanted to understand what they were witnessing as giant teams systematically dismantled Talon military infrastructure across 3 sectors. You must understand, Ji-Woo said. Humanity spent 30 years building the giants, not because we wanted war, but because we feared what we would become if forced into one. We studied our own history. We know what humans are capable of when pushed too far. A reptilian delegate from the Kashir Empire leaned forward. Explain this doctrine you call overwhelming response. For 3 years, the Talons tested us, Ji-Woo said. We responded with conventional forces. We showed restraint. We exhausted diplomatic options. But we were also preparing. When the Talons crossed the line from harassment to genocide, we responded with overwhelming force designed to end the war quickly and decisively. By unleashing your giants. Yes, Ji-Woo said simply. The giants are not a standing army. They are a scalpel, not a hammer. They strike military targets with precision. Notice that despite their capabilities, we have not targeted a single Talon civilian. The Kashir delegate checked his datapad. In 17 days, your giants have disabled 42 military installations, destroyed 63 Talon warships, and captured or killed over 8,000 Talon soldiers. Yet Talon civilian casualties remain at 0. That is correct, Ji-Woo said. Because this is not about revenge. This is about justice and deterrence. We want the Talon military to understand they cannot win. But we also want the Talon people to understand that humanity makes war on warriors, not children. Captain Min Jun Choi was leading his team through a Talon command carrier when he heard the conversation over the command network. His enhanced hearing could pick out Ji-Woo's words even through the encrypted channel while simultaneously processing the tactical situation around him. "Contact left," Sarah Kim said, her voice calm in his earpiece. She fired twice, and 2 Talon soldiers dropped, stunned but alive. Corridor clear. They moved deeper into the ship. This was a high-value target, a carrier that coordinated Talon fleet movements across an entire sector. Intelligence suggested it held strategic planning data for the Talon war effort. Min Jun's orders were clear. Get the data, disable the ship, minimize casualties. Tae-hyun Lee planted charges on the ship's main power conduits. Charges set. 3-minute delay. Enough time for crew evacuation if they are smart. They will be, Min Jun said. Talons are many things, but they are not stupid. They reached the command center and breached the door. The Talon crew was already evacuating, their captain standing at his station with what looked like resignation. He saw Min Jun and made no move for his weapon. "You are here for the strategic database," the captain said. His translator made his voice sound tired. "Yes," Min Jun said. "You can give it to me, or I can take it. Either way, this ship is disabled in 2 minutes." The captain touched his console, and a data cylinder emerged. "Take it. My crew does not deserve to die for Supreme Commander Kravik's pride." Min Jun took the cylinder carefully. "Get your crew to the escape pods. You have 90 seconds before the power goes." "Why show us mercy?" the captain asked. "Your people would be justified in showing none." "Because we are not like Kravik," Min Jun said. "We do not make war on soldiers doing their duty. We make war on leaders who order the murder of innocents." The captain studied him for a moment, then nodded once, and ran for the escape pods. Min Jun and his team were already moving. Their countdown synced perfectly with the charges. They exited through the hull breach they had made on entry, their suits propelling them clear just as the carrier's power systems failed. The massive ship went dark, drifting helplessly in space. "Package secured," Sara reported. "Command, this is Giant Team 1, Min Jun said into his communicator. "Primary objective complete. Returning to extraction point. 117.10.62. 1. Back on the command carrier, they reviewed the captured data. What they found made Ji Woo's blood run cold. "The colony attacks were not a tactical decision," she said, reading through the files. "Kravik ordered them specifically to break human morale. He documented it. He wrote that killing civilians would prove humanity was too weak to fight back." Sarah pulled up more files. "There is more. Plans for additional attacks. He was going to hit 6 more colonies within the month. Over 100,000 casualties projected. He was escalating," Taehyun said quietly. "Testing to see how much he could get away with." Min Jun stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the stars. He gambled that we would not respond, that our restraint was weakness. He was wrong. The intelligence from the captured carrier changed the strategic picture. Earth Command released selected portions to the Galactic Council, showing that Kravik had planned systematic genocide against human colonies. The reaction was swift. 3 species that had been neutral declared support for humanity. 2. Talon client states quietly pulled back their military cooperation. Within the Talon hegemony itself, cracks began to show. Second Commander Chauvin reviewed casualty reports and felt growing dismay. In 3 weeks, they had lost more military capability than in the past 10 years combined. And not to overwhelming numbers or superior technology. To 500 enhanced humans who fought with precision and purpose. She found Kravik in his command chamber, studying tactical displays. "Supreme Commander, we need to discuss our strategic position." "What is there to discuss?" Kravik snapped. "We are the Talon hegemony. We do not surrender." "I am not suggesting surrender," Chauvin said carefully. "But perhaps we should reconsider our approach. The Giants are not what we expected. Every engagement costs us more than we can afford to lose. So, I counsel survival," Chauvin said. The humans are surgically removing our military capacity while leaving our civilians untouched. They could bomb our colony worlds as we bombed theirs, but they do not. They want us to surrender, not to die. Because they are weak, Kravik insisted. They lack the will to do what is necessary. Or perhaps they have the strength to show restraint even in war, Chauvin said. Supreme Commander, I say this with respect and loyalty. You ordered the colony attacks believing humans would not fight back. You were wrong. Now we must adapt or face destruction. Kravik's eyes narrowed. Are you questioning my command? I am trying to save it, Chauvin said. And our people. She left before he could respond. But she knew the conversation would have consequences. Within the Talon command structure, other officers were having similar thoughts. Kravik's gamble had failed catastrophically. Now, they were locked in a war with an enemy that fought with terrifying efficiency. Minjun's team hit 3 more targets that week. A supply depot, a communications relay, a training facility. Each strike was planned with meticulous care. Each target was purely military. Each operation left Talon soldiers alive but defeated. They are starting to surrender without fighting, Sarah noted after their latest mission. The training facility commander saw us coming and ordered his troops to stand down. Word is spreading, Minjun said. They know we will disable their base regardless. Fighting just gets more of them hurt. Is that good or bad? Taehyun asked. It is progress, Minjun said. Every soldier who surrenders is one who will not die for Kravik's mistake. That is a victory for everyone. But he knew the war was not over. Kravik still commanded vast forces. The Talon hegemony's pride was wounded, which made them dangerous. And somewhere out there, the Supreme Commander was planning his next move. Minjun just hoped it would not be as stupid as the first one. Supreme Commander Kravik stared at the holographic display showing the Sol system. Earth, humanity's homeworld, the source of his problems. He had spent 4 weeks watching his military capability erode under giant attacks. 47 installations disabled. 96 warships destroyed or captured. 12,000 soldiers dead or captured. And for what? Some burned colonies that were supposed to break human morale. Instead, he had awakened something terrible. We attack Earth directly, Kravik announced to his war council. Gather every available warship. We strike at their heart. Force them to surrender or watch their homeworld burn. Second Commander Chauvin kept her expression neutral. But inside, she felt ice forming around her heart. Supreme Commander, Earth is the most heavily defended planet in known space. The giants were created there. Their entire military infrastructure is concentrated in the Sol system, which is why they will not expect us to attack it, Kravik said. They think we are defeated. They think we will accept our losses and sue for peace. Instead, we show them the Talon hegemony does not surrender. We take the war to them. This could cost us everything, another officer said quietly. We have already lost everything, Kravik snapped. Our reputation, our client, states, the respect of the Galactic Council. An attack on Earth either wins the war or ends it. Either outcome is better than this slow bleeding. Chauvin knew protest was useless. Kravik had made his decision. But as the War Council filed out to prepare the fleet, she made a decision of her own. She encrypted a message on a secure channel. One the Giants had deliberately left open during their last raid. A channel they knew the Talons had access to. A channel that screamed trap, but was genuine. She sent 4 words. He is attacking Earth. Then she added coordinates and timing. Everything Kravik had planned. She was betraying her commander, possibly her entire species, but she was also trying to save them from complete destruction. Commander Jiwoo Park received the intelligence within minutes. She stared at the message, analyzing every detail. It could be a trap. It could be disinformation. But her instinct said otherwise. The Talons are coming here, she said to her tactical team. Kravik is gambling everything on a direct assault against Earth. How large a fleet? An officer asked. According to this intelligence, everything they have left. 300 warships, maybe 40,000 soldiers. The room fell silent. Earth could defend itself, but the cost would be enormous. And if the Talons reached orbit and started bombardment, millions could die. Deploy all giant teams, Jiwoo ordered. Full defensive positions. And get me Captain Choi. Min Jun was in his quarters when the call came. He listened to Jiwoo's briefing in silence, his enhanced mind processing the tactical implications. A fleet that size could overwhelm Earth's orbital defenses if they were willing to take heavy losses. And Kravik sounded desperate enough to take those losses. What are my orders, Commander? Minjun asked. Stop them. Jiwoo said simply. You and the other giant teams. We will support you with the fleet. But the giants are our best weapon against this attack. Understood, Minjun said. We will need specialized equipment. Combat frames rated for extended space operations. Already being prepared, Jiwoo said. You deploy in 6 hours. Min Jun gathered his team and briefed them on the situation. Sara and Taehyun took the news with their usual calm professionalism, but he could see the tension in their movements. This was different from raiding bases and capturing carriers. This was defending Earth itself. The Talons are making a mistake, Sara said, reviewing the intelligence. They are concentrating their remaining forces in one place. If we defeat them here, their military capacity is effectively 0, which is exactly what Kravik wants, Minjun said. Win or lose, this ends the war. He is tired of losing slowly. Then we make sure he loses quickly, Taehyun said. The Talon fleet arrived at the edge of the Sol system 3 days later. 300 warships in battle formation, weapons armed, and shields at maximum. Kravik stood on the bridge of his flagship, feeling the weight of history on his shoulders. This moment would define his legacy. Victory would erase the failures of the past month. Defeat would end the Talon hegemony as a galactic power. All ships report ready, Supreme Commander, his tactical officer said. Then we begin, Kravik said. Full advance, target Earth's orbital platforms first. Once they are down, commence planetary bombardment. The fleet surged forward. But they had barely crossed into the inner system when the giants hit them. The combat frames were like nothing the Talons had seen before. Each one was a small spacecraft built around a giant, with weapons and propulsion systems designed to turn an enhanced soldier into a mobile weapons platform. They moved through space with impossible agility, dodging Talon fire and striking with pinpoint precision. Minjun led a team of 20 giants against the Talon vanguard. His combat frame's weapons locked onto a cruiser's engine section and fired. The shot punched through shields and armor, crippling the ship's propulsion. Around him, other giants were doing the same, systematically disabling the Talon advance. They are concentrating fire on the capital ships, Sara reported. Destroying the large vessels first. First. Smart, Minjun said. Taehyun, take your group and hit their left flank. Make them split their formation. The battle was chaos, but it was controlled chaos. The giants moved through the Talon fleet like sharks through a school of fish, picking off targets with brutal efficiency. The Talon ships tried to adapt, tried to coordinate their defense, but they were fighting an enemy that moved too fast and hit too hard. Kravik watched his battle plan disintegrate in real time. He had expected strong resistance. He had not expected this level of domination. The giants were everywhere, their combat frames slicing through his fleet like it was made of paper. Supreme Commander, we have lost 47 ships, his tactical officer reported. The giants are targeting our command ships specifically. Then we target theirs. Kravik snarled. All weapons. Focus fire on the giants. Ignore the regular fleet. Kill those enhanced humans. But focusing fire required tracking targets. And the giants did not stay still long enough to track. They used the Talon ships themselves as cover, weaving between vessels and making it impossible to fire without risking friendly ships. Minjun saw an opening and took it. Kravik's flagship was ahead, trying to coordinate the Talon defense. If he could disable it, the Talon fleet would lose cohesion completely. "Sara, Taehyun, I am going for the flagship," he said. "Cover my approach." "On it," Sara replied. Her combat frame took position, drawing fire away from Minjun's vector. Taehyun added his heavy weapons to the suppression, forcing Talon ships to focus on defense rather than offense. Minjun accelerated straight at the flagship, his combat frame's weapons blazing. Point defense systems tried to stop him, but his enhanced reflexes let him dodge through the fire. He hit the flagship's hull and latched on, his frame's cutting tools slicing through armor. Inside the ship, Kravik felt the impact. What was that? One of the giants, Supreme Commander. It is cutting through the outer hull. Seal that section. Deploy security teams. Kill it. But Minjun was already inside. He abandoned his combat frame and moved through the ship with just his armor and weapons. Talon security teams tried to stop him, but they were too slow. He moved through them like wind through leaves, stunning and disabling without killing when possible. He reached the command deck and blew the door. Kravik stood at his command station, surrounded by guards. The Supreme Commander's eyes widened as he saw the giant enter. "You," Kravik said. "You are the one who took my command carrier." "Captain Minjun Choi," Minjun said. "And yes, I took your carrier. Now I am taking your flagship. And you." The guards opened fire, but Minjun had already moved, his enhanced speed making him almost invisible. Within seconds, every guard was disarmed and unconscious. Minjun stood facing Kravik, alone. "You killed 47,000 of my people to prove you were strong," Minjun said quietly. "Now your fleet is broken. Your military is destroyed. And you are my prisoner. Was it worth it?" Kravik said nothing. He had no answer. "Order your fleet to stand down," Minjun said. "Or I disable this ship and move to the next one. Then the next one. I can do this all day. Your people cannot." Kravik looked around his command deck. His guards unconscious. His ship infiltrated. His fleet being systematically destroyed. He had gambled everything and lost. "Communications," he said quietly. "Open channel to all ships. This is Supreme Commander Kravik. Cease fire. Stand down. The war is over." Outside, Second Commander Chaven received the order on her ship and felt overwhelming relief. She immediately transmitted her own order. "All Talon forces. This is Second Commander Chaven. Acknowledge the ceasefire. The war is over. We have lost." The shooting stopped. The giants held position, weapons still active but no longer firing. The Talon fleet hung in space, defeated but intact, alive. Minjun looked at Kravik. "You will face trial for war crimes, but your people will survive. That is more mercy than you showed ours." Kravik met his eyes and nodded once. Even in defeat, he understood. The giants could have destroyed his entire fleet. They could have killed every Talon soldier. But they had not. Because humanity's strength was not in its willingness to kill. It was in its restraint even when killing would have been easy. The Galactic Council chamber was packed with representatives from every member species. At the center of the room, former Supreme Commander Kravik stood in a containment field, his wing arms bound, his eyes downcast. The charges against him filled 3 holographic screens. Genocide. Violation of colonial protection treaties. Deliberate targeting of civilians. Crimes against sentient life. Commander Ji-woo Park watched from the Earth delegation area as the prosecutor presented evidence, recordings from the colony attacks. Kravik's own written orders, intelligence files, showing his planned escalation. The case was overwhelming and undeniable. "How does the accused respond to these charges?" the council arbiter asked. Kravik raised his head. For a moment, Ji-woo saw defiance in his eyes. Then it faded, replaced by something that looked like exhaustion. I am guilty of all charges. I ordered the attacks. I believed humanity was weak. I was wrong. I was wrong. Remember, sent. Trages. The chamber erupted in noise. Representatives shouted questions, demanded explanations, called for immediate sentencing. The arbiter called for order, her gavel ringing like a bell. The council will deliberate and render judgment, the arbiter said. The accused is remanded to custody pending sentencing. As Kravik was led away, Second Commander Shavan approached Ji-woo. The Talon officer looked tired, her feathers ruffled from stress. She had assumed command of what remained of the Talon military and had spent the past 2 weeks negotiating with Earth. Commander Park, Shavan said quietly. May I speak with you? They moved to a private meeting room. Shavan folded her wing arms in a gesture of respect. I want to thank you for the intelligence warning about the Earth attack. My message to your giants saved many lives on both sides. It took courage to send that message, Ji-woo said. You risked everything. Ji-woo. I risked being called a traitor, Shavan said. But if I had stayed silent, I would have been responsible for the deaths of thousands more Talons. Kravik's plan was suicide. Your giants would have destroyed our entire fleet. Probably, Ji-woo agreed, though we would have tried to minimize casualties even then. That is what I do not understand, Shavan said. You had every right to destroy us completely. We killed your civilians. We started this war, yet you showed restraint throughout. Why? Ji-woo was quiet for a moment, gathering her thoughts. Because we remember what we are capable of when we stop showing restraint. Human history is full of wars where we forgot mercy, where we convinced ourselves that total destruction was justified. Those wars left scars that lasted generations. So the giants were your way of avoiding that? The giants were our way of making war so overwhelming that it would end quickly, Ji-woo said. We built them to be so effective that we could win decisively without needing to escalate to total war. Every soldier they did not kill was one less family that would seek revenge. Every civilian they spared was one less reason for the next war. Shavan nodded slowly. A weapon designed to prevent worse weapons. That is a very human way of thinking. Over the next month, Ji-woo and Shavan negotiated the peace treaty. The terms were strict, but not cruel. The Talon hegemony would pay reparations to the colony survivors, though Earth acknowledged that no amount of money could replace lost lives. Talon military forces would be reduced and monitored. Joint memorials would be built on the sites of the destroyed colonies, with both human and Talon names inscribed to remind future generations of the cost of war. Most importantly, the treaty included mutual defense provisions. If either species was attacked by a third party, the other would provide aid. Former enemies becoming allies, bound by shared sacrifice. Captain Min Jun Choi stood at the memorial site on what had been New Busan. The ground was still scarred from the orbital bombardment, but construction crews were rebuilding. A large stone monument listed the names of the 18,000 dead. Human names mostly, but also the names of visiting traders and diplomats from other species who had been on the colony when the attack came. His team stood with him, Sara Kim, Taehyun Lee, and the other giants who had fought in the war. They were in dress uniforms, their enhanced bodies still drawing stares from the crowd of civilians and dignitaries attending the memorial dedication. I never met any of them, Taehyun said quietly, looking at the names. But I memorized every one. All 47,000 across the 3 colonies. Why? Sara asked. Because that is why we exist, Taehyun said. To remember what happens when we fail to deter war. To be ready so others do not have to fight. A group of colonists approached. Survivors who had been off-world when the attack happened but had lost family. An older woman stepped forward and looked up at Minjun. You are the giants, she said. The ones who stopped them. Yes, ma'am, Minjun said. My daughter was on New Busan, the woman said. She was a teacher, 26 years old. She died in the first bombardment. Tears ran down her face, but her voice was steady. I want to hate. I want revenge. But then I see what you did. You stopped them without becoming monsters yourselves. You gave us justice, without making more orphans and widows on their side. I am sorry for your loss, Minjun said. No, the woman said firmly. The Talons failed. Kravik failed. You did what you were built to do. You protected the rest of us. She reached up and took his hand. Her small human hand was dwarfed by his enhanced one. Thank you. As the memorial ceremony continued, Commander Ji-woo Park gave a speech. She talked about the price of peace and the cost of war. She talked about the 47,000 who died and the millions who lived because the Giants ended the war quickly. She talked about the future and the hope that this memorial would remind everyone that war should always be the last choice, not the first. Chauvin spoke too, representing the Talon people. She acknowledged their guilt and their shame. She promised that the Talon hegemony would never forget what happened when pride and aggression replaced wisdom and restraint. She laid a wreath at the memorial, a Talon tradition of honoring fallen enemies. In the weeks that followed, the Giants returned to Earth. They went back to training and readiness, but now they were veterans. They had proven themselves in combat. They had shown the galaxy what humanity's restraint had been hiding. Minjun stood in the Giants' facility, watching new recruits train. They moved well, their enhanced bodies adapting to combat scenarios. But they had not fought a real war. They had not felt the weight of taking lives, even enemy lives. They had not stood at memorials and seen the faces of those they failed to save. You are thinking too much, Sarah said, joining him at the observation window. I am thinking about what we are, Minjun said. We were built to be weapons, but we tried to be something more, something better. We succeeded, Sarah said. We won the war without becoming the monsters Kravik was. This time, Minjun said. But what about next time? What if the next enemy is worse? What if restraint is not enough? Then we adapt, Sarah said. But we do not abandon our principles. The moment we decide that winning justifies anything, we become no better than Kravik. Minjun nodded. She was right. Of course. The Giants existed in a strange space between weapon and guardian. They were humanity's answer to the worst question. What if peace fails? But they were also humanity's promise that even in war, there were lines that should not be crossed. Commander Ji-woo found them later that day. She had news from the Galactic Council. The trial was over. Kravik had been sentenced to life imprisonment on a neutral world. The Talon hegemony had formally apologized and begun paying reparations. 3 species that had been Talon client states were now seeking membership in a mutual defense pact with Earth. The war is officially over, Ji-woo said. The Giants are being stood down to reserve status. Good, Minjun said. Maybe now we can go back to being a deterrent instead of a deployed force. Maybe, Ji-woo said. But the galaxy knows about you now. They have seen what you can do. That changes things. How? Taehyun asked. Taehyun, 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 Taehyun. Other species are asking questions, Ji-woo said. Wondering if they should create their own enhanced soldiers. Wondering if humanity's restraint will last. Wondering what we will do if challenged again. Then we show them the same thing we showed the Talons, Minjun said. We show them that strength and restraint are not opposites. That humanity can fight when necessary, but chooses peace when possible. That is who we are. Who you are, Ji-woo corrected gently. You Giants. You are the face of that philosophy now. For better or worse, you represent humanity to the galaxy. Minjun looked at his team, then back at the new recruits training below. Then we make sure we represent the best of humanity, not the worst. That night, Minjun visited the memorial one last time before it was officially open to the public. He walked among the names, reading them in the darkness. Teachers, farmers, miners, children, people who wanted nothing more than to build lives on new worlds, people who died because one leader valued conquest over peace. He made a promise to those names. The giants would train, they would prepare, they would be ready for the next crisis, the next war, the next time humanity was pushed too far. But they would also remember why they fought. Not for glory or conquest, not for revenge or pride. They fought to protect the innocent, to deter aggression, to give peace a chance to survive. And if they had to fight again, they would do it with the same restraint and precision they had shown against the Talons. Because that was what separated humanity's giants from the monsters who made war on civilians. That was what made them human, even enhanced as they were. That was what made them worth building. As Minjun left the memorial, he looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, other species watched humanity. Some with respect, some with fear, some with curiosity. They wondered what humans would do with their giants. Whether Earth would become an aggressor now that it had proven its strength. Minjun smiled slightly. Let them wonder. And they would remain ready, vigilant, and restrained until the day they were needed again. Because that was the price of peace. Being strong enough to deter war, but wise enough not to start one. That was humanity's gift to the galaxy. And the giants would make sure it remained that way.